So please come out, Thornton Township, because we need you more than ever. Right now, they have an actual election called a caucus, a one-day election, whereas you normally would go to the ballot box and vote for your person. They can't beat me. If they could beat me, they would have went to the polls.
What do you do tonight if you don't get the Democratic Party's nomination?
What do you mean? I will be victorious tonight. You will see. My people are here. They're not going to go nowhere. The show will go on. They can be harmed.
We won't stand for it.
Tell me what happened. Tiffany, tell us what happened. It's your crime. Who was the slave?
A packed gym at the Homewood Flossmoor Park District erupted in cheers as the fiery caucus denied incumbent Tiffany Henyard, who's faced criticism over township spending, nominating State Senator Napoleon Harris instead as the Democratic challenger for the position.
I will be suing everybody tomorrow. This is illegal.
All right, people, last night was a complete train wreck for Tiffany Henyard. The Torrin Township Democratic Caucus wasn't just a loss. It was a full-on political meltdown, and to top it all off, she didn't even have a certified assessor on her slate. How can you fumble that hard? That's not just a bad day at work. It's the kind of mistake that ends careers. As you can see, Henyard is understandably upset, angry, emotional, and there is a lot of finger-pointing going on, and she is claiming some shady tactics were used against her. But let's be honest for a moment. This isn't just about the caucus. It's about years of poor decisions coming home to roost, and this is the biggest. It's a fraud to fight the outcome.
This is the biggest. This is the biggest. This is a fraud.
To fight the result.
This is criminal. I would easily say hundreds of people that were not allowed in to be a part of the process.
There is a limit to how many enemies you can have before they band together and utilize a Thanos snap to ruin your career. And that is precisely what occurred in this case. The Tiffany Henyard has been burning bridges. She's been playing a game of how quickly can I alienate everyone, in which she's burnt coworkers, policymakers, company owners, and others. Politics is all about forming alliances, and Henyard seems to have completely forgotten that lesson. When you treat everyone around you like they're disposable, you'll ultimately be the one kicked out, and even the most devoted crew won't be able to rescue you after you've turned. Southland is essentially against you, but Han and her crew thought that some voting suppression was taking place.
She called the vote unfair and illegal before leaving.
All the people outside, they let not one person in.
It's one thing to win, but let's do it properly and let the people really have a voice. The people's voice was taken today.
Henyard's allies also raised questions about why so many people were not let into the building. They say she may seek to be a write-in candidate.
They wouldn't let none of the people in. This is absurd, and something needs to be done about it. This is criminal.
I think it's very unfair that I don't get a chance to make the decision of who I want where.
Who did you want to vote for?
I wanted to vote for Tiffany.
What was the process supposed to be?
The process was followed and it came out the way it was supposed to.
Here's how it all started. More than 200 people outside waiting to enter Homewood Flossmoor's Park District.
But the people who attended the party are the ones who was in there voting. That's unfair to us residents standing out here in the cold.
Cheers from Harris's supporters and outrage from Henyard's supporters.
I think it's absolutely absurd that you have all these people out here. You have the seniors out here.
Voter suppression.
Absolutely.
How you win? Stand on your record, what you're going to do for the people, what you've already done, and let the people elect you. You can't do stuff like this.
This is where things get a little messy because Tiffany Henyard, the last-ditch Hail Mary voter suppression activist after her crushing defeat at the Thorn Township Democratic Caucus, is saying that her supporters were denied entry to the building to cast their ballots, but it wasn't just her people outside. I got this video from a fellow content creator, and you guys saw her at the township meetings. It seems that even people who didn't want to vote for her were excluded from the C.
They still got the door locked, door closed. It's supposed to open at 6:30. Hey, how y'all acting down?
What the devil happened here then? The people's voice was seized today, and Henyard is coming in hot calling to vote unfairly and illegally, threatening to sue even her main man, Keith Price.
Criticizing the voting process, Keith Price calling what happened an atrocity.
Last night meeting, to me, was the biggest form of voter suppression I've ever seen in my life.
As a Democratic Party committeeman, Harris holds the right to decide whether the nominee is determined through a caucus or primary. Price says this tactic was deceitful and estimates at least 200 people were still standing outside of the cold, waiting to get in when the meeting began.
It's a little dramatic, but is it true? This seems like something that could clearly build her base, but we need to discuss reality. First, Hannah had to present receipts. Did someone purposefully bar her supporters from leaving the building? Was there a shadowy group of anti-her agents twirling their mustaches at the door? Or more likely, was this just a ploy by Poe planning that people were still entering that building? If not, it was extremely slow and packed. At that point, it begins to appear less like a targeted suppression and more like some logistical issues that affected this situation. Now this caucus hasn't been held in decades. Normally, it just goes by a primary.
There are perception issues with it that are right to get attention. Will the court look at those perception issues? Probably not, but the voters certainly should.
Bill Cadigan is a former state board of elections chairman who says the caucus system is legal in Illinois, as is holding multiple elected positions.
No, it does not look like good government, and it looks like more of the same in Thornton Township.
But once more, let's get into the basics of what she'll need to prove. Were there capacity restrictions or fire codes that prevented people from entering? Did volunteers who were in charge of the caucus make arbitrary decisions about who was allowed in? Were there complaints filed during the event? If her team is unable to produce concrete proof, this lawsuit will quickly fail. Need to locate those receipts, and that's one of Tiffany Henyard's main issues. She said she will have them, but she never ever gives them to him. Instead, she keeps saying, "I'm going to talk. I'm going to tell my truth, and I'm going to tell my story." But we're still waiting for this story, and she has lost the trust. When will she start talking? Because if she doesn't, going to likely lose her mayorship at Dothan, even if Henyard can demonstrate that there were some problems. The issue is that she must demonstrate that it cost her the nomination, and courts won't simply cancel an election because it was a little chaotic. Yes, it looked strange, and as I watched it, I wondered if this was the way things were supposed to go, or if this was a final decision that no one could. It seemed strange to me, but some commenters stated that this is how some caucuses go and that they can get a little crazy. She will need to make the connection, as some like to say, by stating, hey, there are a lot of people outside and they were all Henyard supporters, and if they would have gotten in, I would still be running the township right now, and without that kind of information, this game is over before it even begins. There are numerous legal battles surrounding Tiffany Henyard, which waste time and money, and it's clear that public opinion fluctuates. I believe that most people are relieved that Henyard is no longer there because, as township supervisor, Henyard already has a reputation for. Let's say, on the other hand, if she could actually pull this off and expose actual voter suppression, that would be a fantastic plot twist. Keep in mind that she was able to defeat the recall a few years ago, so this could simply come across as desperate, like she's throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. This is shaping up to be a chaotic legal situation. If she can demonstrate that this wasn't bad logistics, but rather a purposeful attempt to block her supporters, she might be able to turn the tables. But if this fails, she's just wasting her time while her political ship sinks. The lawsuit could either be a game changer for Hannah's career or just another chapter in her downward spiral. To be honest, we'll investigate and see what happens. I believe this story is far from done, but let's return to the overall circumstances. Henyard often talks about educating people, which is her go-to buzzword. We've all heard it. She wants to educate the public and empower the community. It sounds fantastic, but she hasn't been able to figure out how to convince her team to do it. You would think that someone who is all about education might have educated herself on the bare minimum requirements for running in a political race. This wasn't some complicated hidden rule buried in print. This is Politics 101, no certified judge, and let's not forget about the certified assessor, who she completely blew on, including in her slate. It's like showing up for the final exam without a pen. Sure, you might know the answers, but I doubt she does. If you don't have the tools, you're still going to fail, and we can't overlook the logistics here. The assessor didn't have a ballot slot, and that mistake cost her not just the option to vote, but the entire game. A job where you make nearly $250,000 gone. The most crucial aspect of your political career is your ability to organize your team to attend a caucus. If you can't do that for an entire town, how can you do that for Tiffany Henyard? These are the details that indicate whether or not someone is prepared to lead. And sadly for Henyard, last night demonstrated that she wasn't, and the consequences followed. Difficult, particularly when money is tight. Some may argue that Napoleon Harris simply used some gamemanship by using laws and specific regulations to get her out, and you're calling tonight's power move. However, see you again, $250,000 salary could be lost. If you can't handle this stuff, how can you handle the big stuff? Which is why a township is in some sort of gridlock. Illegal. Enjoy your evening, eat, and get married. The senator and committee head, Pone Harris, has them stalling because he is their puppet master and is in bed with them. He tells them not to go to board meetings until they have insurance, which H feels is unfair. This is the harsh reality of politics. Relationships are the currency of power. You don't get to the top by yourself, and it's impossible for you to remain there without support. What happens when you treat people badly is exemplified by Henyard's downfall. Every fight, feud, lockout of a township employee, and lockout with the trustees adds up. And when the time comes for people to support or bury you, many of them are already holding the shovels. Narrative, the walls are closing quickly. She has fought with policymakers who could have been allies and off-business owners who fund campaigns, and now when she's in a political battle, she's looking around. We've seen this with politicians, CEOs, and villains from every reality TV show who believe they could win without being kind to Henyard. When you make too many errors, you're like the zombie apocalypse guy who believes he doesn't need a group until he is surrounded and eaten alive, and you realize that there won't be any cavalry coming. Politics depends on cooperation, and without it, you're done. Although Henyard has a few devoted fans, it seems that they are insufficient. A tiny squad is unable to withstand a tidal wave of resistance that Henyard has accumulated on her own. This is a general norm. Nobody is indestructible, and if you treat people like garbage, they will ultimately band together and eliminate you. The moment your adversary senses your vulnerability, they will attack you. Therefore, there will undoubtedly be more drama. Henyard stating that she is suing is not surprising since she has previously used that tactic and prevailed. That recalls scenario, but I believe that she likely had more public support at the time. Now that support may have dwindled more quickly, or some viewers of these news reports may think that she is being singled out as a voter of suppression. While reversing this situation feels like a Hail Mary, and it appears that no one is in the end zone, will follow as we always do. She is still the mayor of Dalton for the time being, but even that title is beginning to feel shaky, so we're going to see some legal news in the coming days. She must continue to be a supervisor. She is a lame duck. She must also continue to fight for her mayorship. I appreciate you watching this video, and I hope to see you all in the future one.